So, I met this guy, and he doesn't look like a typical Jehovah's Witness.
No.
Salam alaikum.
Hi, Sam. Nice to meet you.
So, tell us why you're here. You said you were here as a bridge builder.
Yeah, I'm here to meet Jehovah's Witnesses and just to build bridges between both the Muslim community and the Jehovah's Witness community. And since they're always coming out, always like either knocking on my door or I see them outside on the street, before I'll make a difference and I'll come to their event this time.
So they're knocking on your door, so now you're knocking at the convention. So
that's one way of looking at it, yeah. And also I got to meet you as well. And also I like to just go out and meet people, new people, and experiences and opportunities. So I see this also as an opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So, and just take it from there and see what happens.
And I like the idea of being a bridge builder. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you're my brother.
Sure.
And we're brothers. We're all brothers on this planet.
Of course, yeah. And we all have to live together in peace and harmony.
Yeah.
And and for the betterment of human society in general.
Yeah. So what's your impression of the Jehovah Witnesses?
Generally, they're like a large body of communities made up of different ethnicities, cultures, and races. And I mean, they're different. Like most of them tend to be hospitable and friendly and welcoming. And then you get the others, which are a bit more, reserved and like not so like much welcoming, but more like, what are you doing here? And this and that. But generally, my experience has been positive. So it's more so like the people that are on the kind of like. There's like some sort of like grade system, so you have the people that are more like the elders or so those don't seem very approachable, whereas the ones that are just more like the general kind of masses, they're always like
I would guess that the pioneers would try to talk to you, like the recruitment officers, so to speak. Mm-hmm. We call them pioneers, but they focus on recruiting people, while the elders is like imam, trying to protect the flock. So you could be a potential recruitment or a potential recruiting them. Some people would treat you more like a threat, other people would treat you more like opportunity from their.
I guess that also
more
makes my job like more. More difficult, because in the sense that I need to work more hard in order to kind of break people's like negative stereotypes that they may have about me and Muslims in general, because I don't have any ill will or bad feelings towards them, and I wish them well, and people should be allowed to believe in what they want and worship what they want, as well as
that's a very good point
as well. So.
Because we were talking earlier about human rights. For me, it's very important, human rights, and I think it's a wonderful thing what we have. Because no matter if we disagree, we have different nations, we managed to agree on the human rights. And like you said earlier, that human rights do not contradict Islam.
Yeah.
What you said even something better than that.
Well, there's a verse in the Quran, in chapter 2 of the Quran, verse 256.
Chapter 2, 256.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
And in Arabic it says, La ikraha fi din.
La ikraha fi din.
Oh, ikraha fi din.
Ikraha fi din.
That's right, and which means there shall be no compulsion in religion.
No compulsion in religion.
Yeah. And the context of the background of this particular verse, it mentions that some of the people from a Jewish Christian background converted to Islam and accepted the Prophet Muhammad, and they also wanted to convert their children to the faith, but the children didn't want to convert, they wanted to remain as they were. And so this verse was revealed in that situation. There should be no compulsion in religion, for truth stands out clear from error. So and there's no point in forcing people to faith, because that faith doesn't have any value anyway.
So people should be able to, like it says in the Declaration of Human Rights, you should be able to choose your religion, but also as well as leave with no punishment.
That's right.
Because if there's a punishment, it would be compulsory.
Exactly, you're forcing people to just basically pretend something that they're not.
Witnesses always say you're allowed to leave, but we will punish you, and that's not freedom. It's like saying you're allowed to rob the bank, but we will punish you. That means you're not allowed to rob the bank.
Isn't it like you're excommunicated from your family and friends?
Yeah, being disfellowshipped, excommunicated from a congregation, that's legal. If we have a congregation called the Gustafsson's Poker Club, I'm allowed to excommunicate people. That's part of being a free, But the fact that we will punish you, which shunning actually is, that tell your father and mother not to talk to you, stuff like that. That's against the human rights.
Which is detrimental, like to a person's psychology and mental health and well-being. So like I feel sorry for those that end up. I've noticed there's now a community that's emerging of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in which they're supporting one another.
And also ex-Muslims.
I've met a few as well. I actually have a few friends that are from the ex-Muslim community as well.
Yeah.
And
you can still be friends.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
and,
thing.
At the end of the day, it's up to them. If they want to leave, then they should be allowed to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, in chapter 18 of the Quran, in verse 29.
Chapter 18, verse 29.
It says, the truth has now come from your Lord, and those that want to believe in it, let them believe, and those that want to reject it, let them reject it.
Let them reject it.
So people should be allowed to either believe in what they want, and also to disbelieve as well.
Yeah. So basically, that's the human rights thing is. And you also said something about noble.
Yeah, well, I like what you said yesterday when we met. You said, with the human rights, how you have different nationalities or different nations all coming together and all agreeing upon certain.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and you say it's amazing that people cannot see possible the providence of God or the hand of God behind it, by bringing people from different cultures and backgrounds and different levels of understanding, all agreeing upon certain basic human rights, basic human principles.
Because if I were a religious person from any denomination, I would look upon this and say, this is kind of like a miracle, that we actually managed to do this.
Exactly, yeah.
But you also said that, I asked you earlier, is the human rights violate, is it contradicts Islam? And you said no, because a Muslim should be
to be
noble.
A good Muslim is to be a noble human being.
To be a good Muslim is to be a noble human being, and following the human rights would actually make you a noble human being.
Yeah.
So
I mean, nobility or being good is what society sees and perceives. And if you want to be a good practicing Muslim, it's not about just going to the mosque praying 5 times a day, but then outside of the mosque, you're mistreating people, you're cheating, you're lying. This isn't to be a good practicing Muslim, but to be a good practicing Muslim is to be good with your family, with your wife, your parents, your children, as well as the society and benefit. And I feel like generally the perception today tends to be with the Muslim communities that people see us as people that have come to kind of steal from the general public or to be like a burden, rather than seeing them as being some sort of benefit, like people that can benefit society in general. To be a good practicing Muslim is to be a noble human being.
I can tell you one thing that I actually liked. It was very good thing the Muslims did. The Muslims, or like one church, or I don't know what they call it, like mosque, because in Norway they celebrate New Year, and they use a lot of fireworks, and then fireworks everywhere, and it's really dirty. And I might have misunderstood something, but what they said, this mosque, they did not celebrate New Year's Eve, but instead they went out early, the 1st of January, to clean everything. So that's a very positive way of doing it. Okay, so the Christians celebrate this celebration, and we do the cleaning up. I really like it. It's a very, what we would say, a Christian thing to do. But very community. And English is not my first language. Communal thing to
like a community thing, like all people from different communities.
So they basically they humble themselves.
Yeah, I hope
like Jesus said, you should be the servant of your brother.
Yeah, it's not the first. It's the last will be the first, and the first will be the last.
Yeah.
And the Son of Man has come not to be served, but to be served.
That's what the one was thinking about.
Yeah.
So they actually went up and instead of being angry for the Christians doing all the noise at night, they went up early and clean after them. So that's really reaching out the hand.
Yeah. And that's an example, a model for us British Muslims living here. The Muslim community in Norway, we could learn from them. Learn from their example.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I hope if there's Muslims watching, they can take back and bring it.
It's always a good thing to reach out. I'm reaching out to the ex-Mormons, because we were talking about earlier this Protect Every Child campaign that Sam Young, he's a Mormon bishop. He used to be Mormon bishop, to protect children from, because Mormons have a worldliness interview. So a child has to sit down with a grown man. All Mormons have to do it, and some of them would abuse the situation and ask improper questions like masturbation and sexuality. So he wanted to get the Mormon Church to change this routine, so there will be no one-on-one interviews and no sexual explicit questions ever. And I support that campaign.
Is there a website?
There is. It's called protecteverychild.com. It used to be called Protect LDS Children, and then they broadened it, because really children are children. It doesn't matter what color their parents have,
Yeah.
So, but would it be anything? Is there anything in Quran that says it's mandatory that you should ask children sexual explicit questions?
No, of course not. No. I mean, this is the problem. There's a lot of ignorance in society.
Yeah.
Even parents themselves, they need good sex education as well. And the people that should be giving sex education are people that know what they're talking about, like experts. But many a times, the parents themselves don't know.
Yeah.
And they themselves are ignorant, and then they also stop their children as well from having a good education, just even in general.
Yeah. So there's really...
But it's inappropriate for like an adult to be alone in a room with a child and asking them inappropriate questions about their sexuality.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
So we could say that to the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses, or the, I don't know what it's called, the general authorities of the Mormons, or the apostles. It's improper for a grown-up to ask questions about sexuality to a child. Hashtag protect every child. So...
But what made you, like you yourself was an ex-Jehovah's Witness at one time?
Yeah, I used to be a witness. Now I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness. So
what was your, what was it like a journey for you that you eventually...
there are some things in the Bible that contradict science.
I see.
So...
like evolution or something?
No, evolution, yeah, also evolution, that's a fact. But evolution does really not contradict the Bible. I believe in evolution, but they really don't contradict the Bible. But I don't believe that the whole world was covered with water, which the Jehovah's Witnesses believe.
Sure.
So there's not enough water molecules to cover the world. So I don't believe it. I believe it would be possible for God to do it, but then it would be evidence. You know, it's like it's possible for me to cut down that tree. But if someone come here later, they will see the evidence.
I mean, one of the evidence. I'm not saying that I subscribe to like a worldwide flood, because in the Quran there's nothing in the Quran to say there's a universal worldwide flood. In fact, many people like interpret the Quran to mean that it was a local event, like a local flood. But some apologists for the Bible try to say that the worldwide flood happened because there's traditions, like in the Chinese culture and maybe in other cultures as well, that have the story of the flood.
Yeah, but that was also when the ice, there was like ice, like we now have on Greenland, used to be in Canada, and that melted and went down the Grand Canyon, and then the Great Barrier Reef, for instance, used to be part of Australia, now it's underwater. So it's a reason why you have histories of a great flood. That actually come from a great flood, that was a great flood, nothing connected with God. And then you have in Turkey, the water came down through the Bosphorus, and that was actually a flood on the place the Bible said, but it was 11,000 years ago, not 4,000 years ago. So therefore I cannot fit it into the Bible narrative.
I've not read these traditions, but are there like similarities between the traditions, like with names and characters and places?
Yeah, well, not. You know, the Bible story fits very well to the actual story that happened when the Black Sea was flooded from the Mediterranean. So that actually happened, and that's the story. And then if you would be in a boat, then you would come to Ararat, which is Turkey. So if Noah was living on a place which now would be in the Black Sea, then it would be a flood, and you would float, and you would come to Turkey. So that thing actually happened. But
did you find some sort of archaeological evidence as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But like I said, long story short, that's why I don't believe, because you need too much motivated thinking to believe it.
Too much gymnastics.
Yeah, too much gymnastics to believe in it. So I believe in, the flood that covered the whole Earth, which was the ice from Canada.
Sure.
But that wasn't all Earth. It was just it would be possible to walk from England to Norway if it wasn't for the ice on Canada that melted and created Great Canyon. And then the second one was in Turkey. But none of them was really the Bible story. And also I think the Bible says that God saw the earth was, Jehovah's Witness Bible says, Jehovah saw the earth was full of violence and he was sad. Okay? But how did he solve this problem? By killing everyone. That's a very weird way of doing it. I'm sad, there's too much violence. Let's kill everyone.
It's like in the time of Noah, he found men was too wicked.
Yeah.
And so,
like if I'm a tourist, if I see there's too much violence in London, there's too much violence, let's kill everyone. It's really not a solution to the violence, it's just making more violence.
How were you exposed to these problems with the Jehovah's Witnesses?
No, we go door to door knocking.
Okay.
So, and I was good at arguing, but I used to argue both sides of the arguments. So if I meet you, and then you're not interested, you close the door and I go away, in my head I would be doing your side of the argument and my side of the argument. Arguing. And then...
So you had one of those minds.
Yeah, so after a while I would see you have good argument and so like the blood policy, Jehovah's Witnesses not allowed to take blood, I would argue both sides of the case until I thought like, really I have crappy arguments. And also like Trinity, I don't believe particularly in the Bible because I can argue and prove that Jesus is not God, but I can also argue and prove that Jesus is God. So therefore I feel it really hard to believe that this book was written by God. Because if you would written a book to explain, what every Christian or religious person need to know, we could write a really small book that would be easy to understand. Because many of the Christian domination and also Islam and Judaism is based on that. We are helping you to explain what God really meant, And I believe if there's a God, he really doesn't need my help to explain what he meant.
And that's how it is. And that's how it should be, like in the Muslim faith.
Yeah.
There's no like priest between you and God. It's just a direct relationship between you and God, which is why I have ex-Muslim friends. Because
that's very good.
It's between them and God. It's not for me to judge.
Yeah. So what's the focus on your? What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Nazam44.
Nazam44. I will put the link in the description. Nazam44. And what's the focus on it? Like my focus is try to. I need a platform for my activism, which is human rights activism. # all religions must. But I also try to show people that there's life outside the cult. This is a wonderful world with goats and sunshine and friends, brothers. This is my brother. He's not a witness. He's my brother. We have a wonderful paradise right now. Sorry, that's about me. What's your focus?
My focus is like just to build bridges and to create better understanding.
Bridges and better understanding. Nazam44. It was really nice to meet you.
Thank you. Cheers.
This is a great interview.
Cool. Yeah.